Deepwatch provides innovative managed security services that empower organizations to be more resilient against today's evolving cyber threats. Deepwatch offers game-changing capabilities in managed detection and response, managed endpoint detection and response, and vulnerability management, all delivered through a unique squad model, a dedicated group of security experts that works directly with each client. From managed security operations to threat hunting to continuous measurement of security readiness, Deepwatch is advancing the service of managed security. Measure your SecOps maturity for free by visiting securityweekly.com/Deepwatch. Most breaches are caused by exploiting oversights in basic cybersecurity fundamentals, but complex hybrid multi-cloud infrastructures make cybersecurity hygiene challenging. Red Seal can help. It shows you what's on your network, how it's connected, and the associated risk across public cloud, private cloud, and physical environments. With Red Seal, you'll get control of your cybersecurity fundamentals so you can protect your organization from the inevitable attack vectors and reduce your cyber risk. For more information, visit securityweekly.com/Red Seal. Cyber risk and compliance automation is finally here. Arduous legacy GRC systems cannot support the powerful real-time automation and oversight that organizations require to take risks that matter and compete in today's business climate. CyberSaint ingests data from your existing tech stack to deliver unprecedented, patented automation and visibility into enterprise risk and compliance. Don't get left behind. See why the most forward-thinking CISOs and business leaders of Fortune 500 and more partner with CyberSaint. Maximize your cybersecurity program today by visiting securityweekly.com/CyberSaintBSW.
Welcome back to Business Security Weekly. I am your host, Matt Alderman, joined by Paul Asadorian and Jason Albuquerque. Security Weekly, in partnership with Cyber Risk Alliance, is excited to present Security Weekly Unlocked on December 10th, 2020. This one-day virtual event wraps with the 15th anniversary edition of Paul's Security Weekly live on our YouTube channel and maybe a couple other live streams. Visit securityweekly.com/unlock to view the agenda and for free. We got 59 submissions, call for speakers for the Unlocked event. I want to thank the entire community. We only had spots for 15, so we maximized as much as we could. We are going to have a jam-packed agenda for that event. Also, join Amit Barakat, co-founder and CEO of Perimeter 81, and Paul Asadorian for a technical deep dive into the problems inherent in legacy VPN technology. Together, they will explore solutions for the modern workforce and how momentum towards perimeterless architecture is helping redefine the future of cybersecurity. Register now by visiting securityweekly.com/perimeter81. There's the official call for the
nice.
For that one.
Let's talk about global distribution. I love it.
I guess you have a topic for that one already.
Yeah,
all right.
You should join and ask, right? Join the webcast.
I will,
Yeah.
absolutely.
There you go. Articles. So for all those playing at home, start at the bottom and work your way up. It is another feature request for PPWorks to order the stories the way you want to cover them. I added them in one direction, and then they got imported in the opposite direction. So CISO Stressbusters, 7 tips for weathering cybersecurity storms. This is a Microsoft security blog. What do you think, Jason?
I actually love this article. I really, really like this article, honestly. For me, you sit back and security teams are still looked at as a cost center, right? I mean, within the organization, they're still being viewed as a cost center. They're still being viewed as, and I hate it sends a chill up my spine, insurance to the organization, right? I really hate that. And bringing change to an organization is really, really tough. I've done it within my organization. I feel like I've done it fairly successfully, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to bring that mindset that, security can truly be an enabler of the business, can really be a business partner. So going through some of these tips on how you can, really keep your mind in gear, and some tips of partnering with the organization. I liked the article. I really, really liked it.
I think it nicely summarizes what we've talked about largely in the show, pretty much since its inception. Mm-hmm. There's really not much new in this article that we haven't talked about.
No, but they did a good job of bringing it to reality within their organization, telling the story. This was a good tell the story of how they did it within their organization, right? So business engagement makes a difference. That was one of them, right? They really go through talking about the value, and they used stories to do that, of engaging with other managers within the business units, right? And how they had successes. Again, it's one of those things where I think telling the reality of it versus just an article of how they did it within Microsoft and how those leaders did it within their organization, I think it makes a difference.
One thing I would like to know from Microsoft along the lines of this article is, in my experience, when I speak with folks from Microsoft, number one, they're awesome. Number two, many folks that I speak with have been there for a really long time. They find a home at Microsoft as engineers, and they stay there. And that is something I believe, and this is just an observation, not based on any scientific fact, but in my observation, they tend to stay at Microsoft. Whereas you look at firms from Silicon Valley, you look at Google and Facebook and Apple, the turnover is much higher. I mean, personally, I've spoken with a lot of people and have friends that kind of do the dance between and Twitter thrown into the mix. Those are all very Silicon Valley-based companies. There's a lot more turnover. You go to Microsoft, they're outside of that Silicon Valley mentality. And I think that's really helped them. And they've been able to build this culture where they can actually keep that talent in-house, which is super. I mean, as we know,
is the culture.
Keeping talent is super important.
100%. I couldn't agree more, right?
But how do they do that? I want to know. I mean, I made a speculation as to just the nature of geographic location and perhaps speaking a little bit to culture, but I'd love to see a Microsoft article or podcast or something that really, what's the secret sauce behind keeping all of those talented people employed at Microsoft and really engaged in loving what they do. When I speak to those people that have been there 10, 20 years, they're still excited and love what they do, which is a real, true accomplishment.
Is part of it, though, not just saying these things, but doing these things?
But actually doing these things speaks to that. You're true.
We can sit here all day and say, do this, do this, do this. But if your organization doesn't support this kind of a culture, it's not going to be successful, right? I mean, just hire and build the right talent. Well, for me, hire and build the right talent means don't just hire, build. Building means keeping people around.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? So you just talked about that success factor of hiring and building the right talent. You have to have apprenticeship programs. We'll talk about that later. You have to have a good culture to want to keep people around. And you have to give them a roadmap on how their career trajectory is going to go within the organization. And that's some of the stories they told in this article.
I thought, they gave you 5 really good tips at the end to kind of summarize it under that 7th point. So look, CISOs don't own security incidents, they manage them. CISOs need access to all business units for success. CISOs need to understand the business to be effective. Please mentor them. Please.
I highlighted that. Mentorship is building the talent. You're not just hiring them, you're building them. And in order to build, you have to have, like I said, apprenticeship programs. And there is a such thing as a management apprenticeship program, a leadership apprenticeship program. You can have that.
CISOs need collaboration with their peers, so don't isolate them. And CISOs need to be involved in all technology decisions to manage risks. 5 great tips. That to me was like, that's just the icing, right?
That was. Yeah. And again, walk the walk, don't talk the talk. So if you walk the walk, you'll be successful, kind of like what this article brought out.
Yeah, definitely. 91% of survey respondents say their boards have increased cybersecurity investment response due to COVID-19 pandemic. Now, whenever we see survey results, okay, how many? Global survey, almost 1,000 CISOs. So that's a pretty good sample set. What do you think, Jason? I mean, we've talked about we were talking about this in the last segment. We were talking about 2 pieces of this, right? One is we've seen budgets get stressed, but as you were saying, look, we're also we're putting technology in place, we're spending money. So it looks like budgets are increasing, which aligns to the survey as well.
In many instances, CEOs and boards of directors know cybersecurity needs to be a business initiative. On the other hand, they don't 100% understand what we do. So now it's on us to make sure we're doing the right thing. Because again, the article lists tactical versus strategic. If you're tactical with that power, right, with great power comes great responsibility. If you're tactical with that power, you're going to end up with a lot of shelfware tools that aren't adopted or knee-jerk reactions in purchasing that you're going to have inadequate solutions, right? I mean, the article says that. And it's true. You still have to take that power and be strategic. Because I honestly believe that we still have a lot of work to do to educate board of directors and educate CEOs and educate the other leaders in our organization.
Help me out though. How does security become revenue generation?
Depends on it depends on your vertical though.
It's unique to the vertical and unique to the organization.
It has to
it's not the right same answer.
It's not
for
the same
everyone.
answer for every organization, right? In my field, which is technology managed services and professional services, it's having security up front in the design of everything we do, from implementations to our managed services to our architecture. It's including security there and leveraging that as a differentiator to our competitors, right?
Yeah,
And in another industry, it could be something else.
Streamlining processes not only helps reduce cost, but you're building a differentiator in the market, which can lead to more revenue.
100%.
But that's different from IT security. How do you increase revenue by making all employees use some kind of multi-factor, right? That to me is the more difficult one that I come down to.
Sure,
right?
But again, it's tactical versus strategic things, right? So MFA on everybody is a tactical piece that could lead up, and if you combine it with all the other things you're doing, sure, it could be a differentiator.
Gotcha.
But it by itself may not be.
That's right. That's right.
I think that's where people get stuck.
It's the vertical you're in and finding that niche to make security top of mind, and something that if you put it in the mindset of, if I'm a salesperson within the organization, how can I speak to security to make us different than the competition, right? To talk about that differentiator. And that's what I've tried to do within my organization. And you can do it within your own vertical. I mean, let's say insurance. Well, how we're protecting your data compared to our competition may be a differentiator, right?
Right.
I mean, you really got to think about how it can make a difference in the sell.
Yes. This next article was interesting. It's a very long article, but I thought it was a very interesting article. It's the 5 signs that point to a schism in cybersecurity.
What a great word.
Now, Matt, we did cover this article on Paul's Security Weekly.
Oh, you did?
Except we honed in on really one list in here. We thanked the author, publicly recognized. I don't think we got the person's name. PrivSec guy is the author's name on Medium. And we talked about, he had a list. Doing cybersecurity correctly requires enterprise-level organizations too. He has a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. We covered those in great detail, but did not talk about anything in the rest of the article on purpose. I mean, maybe there was some overlap there, but
maybe not.
We didn't. We really just looked at that list and used it as a talking point, and we concluded that this was a great article. Awesome that you also picked it up. It means it's an absolute must-read for all of our audience members.
It is, and I think what he points out here is that there's some things we've known that we almost kind of make excuses about.
Yeah.
And the one that really came out is employers keep saying there's a skills gap. And he says, we keep saying it, but he said, maybe we're just bad at hiring talent and paying them what they're worth. I mean, he just bluntly comes out and says
what are we
right?
doing about that, right? And again, that goes back to the first article we talked about. I mean, it literally ties back to that. Hire and build. You have to hire and build. And hey, by the way, that mind map that's in this article, I love that. I use it all over the place because so many executives think of cybersecurity as just the technical. And I throw that mind map out there, and you literally get that holy shh.
But it sounds like that's what he's alluding to when he talks about penetration testing, that's just an exercise in your tactical aspect of your business, right? Tactical aspect of your technology, not necessarily all of those other thought domains when we think about role-based access control and how that's applied to all of our users, employees, customers, partners, across all of our different technology stacks. And
100%.
So forth. And that's just one area. I'm really just speaking to identity.
Right. Exactly.
One thing.
Yeah. Well, when you tie points 2, 3, and 4 together, you get this really interesting realization that cybersecurity is really complex. It's a lot of things. There's a lot of different pieces to the mind map. We say there's a skills gap shortage, but we don't know how to hire, and yet we don't have an apprentice program to bring new talent into our industry.
Yep.
These 3 just compound each other to the point where how do we ever get ahead of this? And
self-fulfilling
I think that's the point
prophecy
of the article.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If we're not doing the work to make sure we're building the talent, we're hiring in the right areas. I mean, look at all the domains that are just in that mind map, and then all the subdomains that are in there. And big shout out to Henry Jang who puts this out. He did version 1, and now this is version 2 because it's very useful to bring to another executive to show them the reality. And then not only to say, here's everything that exists within a cybersecurity domain, just picture how deep each one of these goes, as well, right? So it just brings a level of reality. So big shout out to him for building this and having this for other executives to be able to use. But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're not doing the diligence. We've talked about it on the show. We need to change the way we hire. I'm a big fan of apprenticeship programs. Take the basic aptitude. I always say, if you have the right attitude and the right aptitude, I can bring you into the team and we can get you to where you need to be. We need to be doing more of that.
Yeah. And you tie that into this next story about what's actually happening. An apprentice program starts to solve some of this because we can't find the help we need. Well, because we don't have a way to...
I just want to point out that we haven't even fully unpacked on this show everything that was written by PrivSec guy, and there's other points in there. You keep reading you got to make sure you go read the whole...
It's a great article.
It's a great article. Probably a nomination for one of the top blog posts this year in all of Infosec.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a long article, but I was trying to pull all the pieces together.
Sure. Sorry, I just want to point that out. I didn't want people to think that was the whole article because we now covered it on 2 shows and didn't cover the whole thing yet.
Right, right. Just props on the content.
Yeah.
Big props on the content.
Which means on Wednesday we'll cover...
Probably have to cover another aspect of it. Yeah, sure.
ESW wraps up the storyline on this one.
Keep talking about it till we figure out who the person is that wrote it so we can bring them on the show.
That's it.
Right.
100%.
PrivSec guy, you're welcome to come on.
Yeah. Make sure it's BSW because I want to be part of the conversation.
I'm going to fight over it.
Right.
Already called dibs.
But then you look at, we can't find the talent. Oh, yeah, we have more needs. Nobody wants to make a move because we're not embracing
the
ability to bring these people on.
Build the talent.
Yeah.
Build the talent. We can do it. We can do it. The only thing that, and I don't know if it was this article or another one that it was this article. The one thing for me that was kind of like sad face emoji was attitudes towards Infosec as a career are lukewarm and they're going down. For me, that stinks because I want more people to want to be in the industry. So, but what that also does is it motivates the hell out of me to start getting in front of more people to educate them on the industry.
Is it because they view the field of cybersecurity as the amount of skills they have to acquire to be a cybersecurity professional as almost insurmountable? Is that how we're presenting ourselves?
I don't think it actually said anything to that, but I think it's say easy, do hard.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it turns people off. Where, again, I think if you take people with the right attitude and the right aptitude and you groom them on a career path that can get them into one of those many domains that we saw on that mind map in the previous article, I think now you can start career pathing people.
That's interesting. And I like what you're saying because it means there's all those different domains in the mind map as we saw in the previous article that people don't realize that each of those areas are a pathway into the industry. Once you get into one of those areas, maybe you become an expert in one of those areas. In that process, what I've observed is that you start to garner and gain some knowledge in those other areas that may be enough that at some point you're like, hey, I can pivot. I can go from security researcher to CEO or CSO. I can go from, being in the help desk and doing operational IT and IT security to being an entrepreneur. Those are there. Once you get your foot in,
even just sticking into that mind map, it could be, I can go from governance to privacy officer or something like that, right? I mean, it's one of those scenarios where it's a beautiful thing how wide and deep cybersecurity goes within technology that it gives so many options. But
I think we do a bad job of evangelizing those opportunities. When someone's first getting in, they're so overwhelmed. They don't understand half the acronyms that we're using in terminology and how it all fits together that the vision is lost on everything that we've got going on in cybersecurity. And that could be something that we need to fix. I think I'm the first one to admit that we've got some issues in this area, and we need, as voices, we need to work to fix them, right?
We really do. And again, I think some of the stigma is that every piece of cybersecurity is uber highly technical.
Right.
And it's not.
It's not. No, you're right.
It's not. No, it's not. And if you get in the industry, the trends are saying, look, we're happy. We're happy with our jobs. We like how we're getting paid. The question is, how do you get in? Right. And I think what's interesting in that mind map that's embedded in that article that we keep talking about is there are so many routes in, and they don't have to be technical. Remember, I started very technical and then went more to a compliance, third-party vendor risk management. That was not a technical role. That was a process role. That was
and Matt,
organizing chaos.
Right. What's interesting is it doesn't have to be expensive to get into this field. And as I mentor various people getting into this field, I come across these little nuggets. I don't want to name names, but in a certain state, like Rhode Island, you can go to a community college for free.
Yes.
I don't know what the qualifications are to receive 2 years of school for free, but it's out there. And again, I don't understand the requirements. Then you can go to another school that has a cybersecurity program in a state like Rhode Island, and 100% of those credits will transfer. Now you've just done 2 years of school for free. You can get into a degree program, which, by the way, has a pretty high salary on average of graduating from that program in cybersecurity, which I'm like, why would you not do that? Why people that would even consider getting this field not choose that route? I'm like, that's an awesome path.
And for me, even if you don't qualify for free, it's not
expensive.
Super. I mean, the community college for 2 years is going to get you in the door, get the basic education you need, fraction of the cost, and then, hey, you want to know what? You still could go to another state university for your last 2 years and still won't break the bank.
But let's say you use that 2 years to figure out where you want to be.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to be a software developer. Maybe I don't want to be in security. Maybe I want to be in networking. Hey, use those first 2 years to figure it out. Like that's, what's wrong with that?
But high school kids, the students need us to be saying this to them.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Too much emphasis is put on that 4-year degree.
We need to be out there speaking to the students, right? This is the main reason why I volunteer with, the Tech Collective, and why I volunteer with P-Tech, which is an inner city urban school helping push computer science.
Right.
This is why I meet with Girl Scouts every year and get them all 3 cybersecurity badges.
Yep.
We, as leaders in the industry, need to be promoting that. Otherwise, that snowball that I just talked about people not, being attracted to cybersecurity,
can't afford to let it continue.
We cannot do that. So we need to be out there evangelizing. We need to volunteer more of our time speaking to middle school, high school, and just in college students.
Yeah,
we really do.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to get the word out that there is a path.
There's a place for you here.
Yeah, and there's an industry that needs help, right? We need this talent.
Right.
We need to hire these resources. We just have to educate people that, one, this industry exists.
Right.
That's part of it,
That's
right? But number two, this is a way to get into it very cost effectively from an education perspective and grow your career. I mean, how many college kids are struggling right now because they graduated with degrees in areas that are like completely shut down? Like I take Renee, for example, right? She goes to school, she graduates in 3 years with a 4-year degree in hospitality management, and there's not a physical event anywhere in the world.
Right.
She had to shift. So now she's doing that with virtual events, which is great.
Right.
But how many other kids couldn't make that shift? And here's an industry just begging for people.
And Matt, that's a great point. I call it the disenfranchised workforce, right? Either students getting out of school with $250,000 in debt, or even more than that in debt, and then they can't land a job that makes them more than $50,000 a year. Well, how do you take advantage of that disenfranchised workforce and say, hey, wait a minute, there could be a place for you here, right? And it's really finding those target areas to help bring people in, because there could be some really, really good talent out there that we're just missing.
Yeah. Oh, we know there's good talent out there that we're missing. Right. We just got to figure out how to go tap into it and make it easy to bring them in and get HR departments out of the way, making everybody have bachelor's of science degrees in engineering to get a security job.
But whose job is it to educate the HR folks because they don't know any better? It's the way it's always been. We're a different animal. We're in a different time, right? So I think I truly put it back on folks like myself to change the direction we're going. We really need to change this. It's up to us to do it.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Great discussion. Some great articles in here for people to read. And thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. And we'll see you next week on Business Security Weekly.